For that, Jessica Le Mesurier in the newsroom. European handball doesn't always make headlines. The sport plucked from relative obscurity in France by the national team's stellar performances, capped this summer by an unprecedented repeat of a gold medal winning run at the Olympics. Now, its captain, seen here a few weeks ago at an awards ceremony at the presidential palace, is in the news for all the wrong reasons. Nikola Karabatic, his brother, at least 7 other players, being questioned for big bets on the halftime score of a match late last season. His club team Montpellier had already clinched the title. Did the EU open a Pandora's box when it green-lighted sports betting and online sports betting across the continent? When it comes to soccer, sports minister and football authorities are reviewing a rash of recent match-fixing scandals in countries such as Italy, Greece, Turkey, Malta, and Finland. Now that raises a broader issue. True professional sports has never been a level playing field, but as the global popularity of spectator sports grows and grows, do the rising financial stakes mean that the fix is on? Today in the France 24 debate, is it just a game? And with us to talk about it is France 24 sports editor extraordinaire, Daniel Levy. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Also with us, not one, but 2 sports economists. Let's say hello to Arnaud Flancard of Paris-based think tank Terra Nova, also a former competitive high jumper. Thank you for being with us. From the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, Stefan Szymanski, co-author of Soccernomics. Welcome, sir. And from Vejle in Denmark, Jens Sayer Andersen, who's the international director of Play the Game. Jens, can you tell us what Play the Game is?
Play the Game is an initiative that aims at strengthening democracy, transparency, and freedom of expression in sport. And one of our main assets has been the fact that we arrange big conferences where we invite whistleblowers, investigative journalists, people who fight for transparency in sport. We have arranged 7 international conferences so far. All
right, and we'll be blowing lots of whistles during our discussion. The France 24 debate, where you can always weigh in on the conversation on Facebook and on Twitter. You can find us at François F24. Let's begin with the facts before we go to the southern French city of Montpellier and our correspondent and check out this report read by William Hildebrand.
A far cry from a fancy hotel, the French handball champions spent the night with police in the Paris suburbs. For now, they're choosing not to comment.
Today, those who are being detained will stay silent. Everyone will explain themselves in front of the magistrate after the lawyers have seen the paperwork.
In all, 17 people are being held for questioning, including star player Nikola Karabatic, a 2-time Olympic gold medalist. Suspicions arose May 12th when top-ranked Montpellier unexpectedly lost to a relatively unknown team from Brittany. France's public gambling agency at the time reported unusual betting patterns up to 10 times greater than expected. And French television said police discovered that wives and girlfriends of club members placed several of the bets. The lawyer for Karabatic and his brother says his clients did not throw the match.
Yes, there were bets. But there was no cheating. They contest. They deny that any cheating occurred.
It's a high-stakes game. If the French Handball League determines that the players made the alleged bets, then they could be fined 15,000 euros and suspended up to 6 games. But if the players are found guilty of match fixing, then it becomes a matter for the courts, and they could face a 75,000 euro fine and 5 years in prison.
Now in the southern French city of Montpellier is France 24's Catherine Norris-Trent. Montpellier, a vibrant university town. It's just celebrated its first ever French football title. It's got a strong rugby team, but its handball team is a powerhouse, and this must be a very dark day for the city, Catherine.
It was. Before this, Montpellier's handball team had been a thing of pride for the city. They've been champions for 13 of the last 15 years in France. They've really dominated the sport, which is very popular in France as a whole. I mean, several members of the Montpellier squad were double Olympic champions, already world champions France this year. Many of them played here in the city. This now is a huge scandal. And some of the people here are angry because the team is subsidised with public money. So you can imagine in this time of austerity, a scandal like this, even though the investigation is still ongoing, is causing anger among people in the city.
And handball, Catherine, sort of the anti-football. It's got the reputation of being the sport which doesn't have a lot of money and where money doesn't pollute everything.
Yeah, I mean, not all of these players who are alleged to be involved in this scandal were paid huge sums of money. The prosecutor, some of them said were paid 6,000 or 7,000 euros a month, so a comfortable salary, but not the kind of money that some international football stars, though. On the other hand, the star players, Nikola Karabatic in particular, he is said to earn 25,000 euros a month after his taxes are paid. So that's a very healthy salary indeed. So some people are questioning why players who earn a comfortable salary or indeed large sums of money would have been bothered betting for a few thousand euros. The prosecutor says he thinks it's about greed. He thinks that gaining more money was the motive for what he called a match-rigging scam.
All right, that's what the prosecutor says. Catherine, what are some of the other theories being bandied about where you are?
Well, the players, their lawyers and those people who remaining loyal to the star players in the Montpellier team say they can't believe that this would happen in such a way. They've admitted, some of the players, via their lawyers, of course, that they've placed these bets, but they said they didn't throw the match. They said they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't alter the course of a sporting event. But already, if they've admitted placing bets against their own team, saying that the score for the other side would be higher at half-time, already that raises, well, several questions. Betting against your own team, not very proud there. And also players placing bets, well, under the sporting code, they're not allowed to. So even if that is proved to be the case, there is still going to be a lot of raised eyebrows over that. All
right, Catherine Norris-Trent, I want to thank you very much for joining us there from Montpellier, a story you will continue to follow for us over there. Dan Levy, it's interesting what Catherine was saying, that the star player, and he is a nationally known figure, the captain of both Montpellier and the French national team, earning 25,000 euros a month, which seems like a huge sum for a footballer. How would 25,000 sit?
Depends on your level of football, but I mean, footballers who are earning at the very top level earn, kind of in the region of, in the UK it's often done per week, and in France it's often done per month. You're looking at about 300, 400,000. The average salary in the English Premier League for a player at that level is about £20,000 a week. So you're looking at about 25,000 euros a week, 100,000 euros a month. It's still a very strong salary, and that is
more.
Exactly, but that is before tax. So it's a fairly comparable salary nonetheless, and it's, as you said, not necessarily kind of salary. And as Catherine said, you expect someone to be tempted by to take money to fix matches after that. You think he's earning enough. But then again, if somebody offers you more money, I mean, it's often quite hard to say no to, I think. That's the thing that people seem to forget. People always question why sports people need more money, why they might leave a team where they're happier to earn more money. What's the difference between only 6 and 7 million? Well, a million, which is quite a lot.
The initial theory that we'd heard from the players' side that they told sports reporters here in Paris was they did it for a laugh, because this was, after all, they'd already clinched the title. There was nothing at stake in this match. It was the end of the season. Is that explanation going to fly?
You'd think not. I mean, we saw the prosecutor speaking earlier, and the litany of the patterns of the betting was quite extraordinary. The fact that the percentages involved, something like 99% of the bets for the halftime score were against them, and then at full time it was the other way around, 90%. So obviously there was a huge swathe of betting on this particular result, which does look very suspect, and also the amounts were absolutely enormous compared to the normal amounts that they see betted on these type of matches.
Arnaud Flancard, the men's handball team, perhaps along with the women's basketball team, were sort of the pride of France after these Olympics. And so this is a shock.
It's such a shock because handball has a very good public image in France. Every people at school play handball. Everyone play handball at school, and the handball players, the men handball players, won the Olympic game, won other international competitions before, and this is why there is such a shock in the public opinion. If you compare to the football players have a bad reputation. They often perceived like bad boys, while handball players are perceived like gentlemen. This is why people are so surprised, and the media speaks so much about this affair.
A few weeks ago, Nicolas Karabatic visited our studios and told France 24's Xavier Chemisel how his prime motivation is certainly not money.
As long as I am healthy, I have both knees and my shoulders are okay, I will play handball and I will strive to win titles. Because it's sad to say, but it's the only thing that makes me happy.
Now, Jens Sayer Anderson, you come from a nation that knows handball very well. Are you surprised by this?
Well, too many years in sports politics have learned me, unfortunately, not to be surprised. I would say if there's anything surprising about this match-fixing scandal, it is that it is carried out, seemingly, if what we hear is true, by quite wealthy sportsmen. Usually a match-fixing pattern would be rooted in the vast Asian illegal gambling market, where we are talking about tens of billions of dollars in annual profit, and where they have all the budget they need to bribe players that are in a worse condition. Most professional athletes are very vulnerable. They are on very unsafe contracts. They are in the hands of unscrupulous agents or very, let's say, careless agents.
And their careers are short.
And their careers are short, and very often they don't make much money. So if they're playing for, let's say, a mediocre team, and they are at the end of the season, or they are facing an opponent they know they will lose, then the fixer can convince them to make completely sure that they will lose. And there can be placed very, very big bets in Asia, outside the monitoring systems in Europe. And then we have the business going, because the next time the player is addressed, then the fixers will know, well, you already did something wrong, so we are going to make life very difficult for you if you don't help us another time.
In this particular case, and I'll put this to Stefan Szymanski, this was done completely above board, as it were, in the sense that they went into a cafe and bet according to the rules. Was it a good idea when Europe decided to standardize sports betting to allow for betting on so-called minor sports like handball?
Well, I think the issue here is, in some sense, this is actually a good news story. So what we have here is people who've been cheating and they've been caught, and no doubt they will be punished in due course. And that's a good thing. We want to be able to uncover examples of cheating. And one of the things that's obviously allowed us to do that is the fact that the betting here was undertaken in the legal market. And therefore, I don't know exactly who blew the whistle here, but usually it's the bookmakers themselves, the legal bookmakers, who actually draw to the attention of the sports authorities and the legal authorities that there have been irregular patterns. And this is not, this is a general phenomenon now. So most of the betting operators participate in early warning systems. For example, FIFA has one, UEFA has one, which help to provide information to the sports authorities that there is irregular gambling going on. I think, as Jens was really alluding to, the really big threat to the integrity of sport is not legal bookmaking, but illegal bookmaking. It's illegal bookmaking, and as he was saying, which we often think of as being located somewhere in the Far East, which is really damaging, because when there are fixes, we don't really know, we've no way of identifying them. So in a sense, to answer your question, bringing gambling on sports within the legal arena is actually probably beneficial to the integrity of sport in the long term rather than damaging.
In fact, the European Betting and Gaming Association calls for the creation of a gambling equivalent of the World Anti-Doping Organization. They urge authorities not to throw out the baby with the bathwater, and this is in line of what you were saying, Stefan. They say when it's correctly regulated, the internet is an exceptional tool that helps prevent the risk of sporting manipulation. Do you agree in that sense, Arnaud, that this is a good news story and that it doesn't involve some murky Asian syndicate that's hard to find?
I think it's a good idea to create a world organization to regulate the bettings online all over the world. But the problem in itself is the bettings. The more you put money on sports, the more you create or you increase the risk to destabilize the competitions, because people will have interest to cheat to earn more money. This is the real problem.
Stefan Szymanski, on that point, recently there have been soccer match-fixing scandals in Italy, Greece, Turkey, Malta, Israel, Finland. Is it because these are coming to light and that these are part of what you call the good news story? Or is it, as Arnaud was saying, the stakes are getting higher and higher, the temptation is growing bigger and bigger?
Well, I think the first thing to say is most of those stories that you refer to actually deal with illegal gambling. So I think illegal gambling is a problem. And this is really a problem really at governmental level. I think governments need to get together and agree on measures to make sure that they restrict illegal gambling. The European Union, governments in the European Union are actually quite keen on this and quite supportive. But really, it's about having discussions with governments in China, where gambling is legal but maybe not very tightly regulated, or even countries like India, where gambling is illegal, and so it's really hard to control. I think the other point, before we get really out of control with these issues, bear in mind that the threat to the integrity of sport posed by gambling has been an issue that has been raised by sports authorities since the year dot. I could show you papers by the English Football League in the 1890s telling about how gambling was threatening to destroy the sport. So I think whenever these events come to light, I think we have a kind of crisis of confidence and worry that the whole thing's going to fall apart. But I think that's unrealistic. I think the reality is that whilst people are concerned about integrity issues in sport, people's expectations are not necessarily that high. And as long as there's some effort to catch the cheats, I think people will continue to follow the sports and things will work out just fine.
We're going to put Stefan Szymanski's optimism to the test in part 2 of the France 24 debate when we return. Stay with us. You're watching France 24.